Way back in 2008, Cloverfield was released, and it was a pretty big blockbuster film, found footage blockbuster film, all about an alien invasion. And that's not the film we're going to be talking about in film marketing today. We are going to be talking about the sequel to Cloverfield, but actually the sequel, which was called 10 Cloverfield Lane, was a sequel that nobody really ever heard was coming, and in some respects, nobody really expected it, and maybe that was part of the appeal. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was a very daring thing to do. So to begin with, you've got to applaud the creators for keeping it a secret for nearly 2 years, because production started in 2014, was finished in 2014. Then this movie, as we're going to hear in a moment, was released in March 2016. So what happened in 2015? Well, we know that the production company Bad Robot, with J.J. Abrams behind at the helm with his co-founder, maybe was a little busy with this thing called The Force Awakens.
No, you're absolutely right, Pascal. You couldn't let 10 Cloverfield Lane get in the way of a good Star Wars movie, could you?
No, absolutely. So, I mean, I've seen Cloverfield. I went to the cinema, but there was a big build-up, and I was so excited. And the movie surprised us greatly because the marketing campaign in 2008 kept so much as a secret. You know, even though you watched a trailer, even though you went online to glean more information, the movie surprised greatly. And the same is true for this one. But did you remember seeing 10 Cloverfield at the movies, or did you wait for the DVD Blu-ray release?
We waited for the Blu-ray release, and I'm not sure how I feel about this film, Pascal, because it felt to me at the time as if I'd been conned a bit. I was just expecting a proper sequel, you know, with monsters, and the original film was you know, handheld footage type found film, and really quite fast and exciting with lots of jump cutting. This film, it just felt to me as if they'd taken a different story about a creepy guy who kidnaps a girl and hides her in a nuclear fallout shelter, and they've added this sort of Cloverfield bit on to capitalise on the original film, which is probably correct, actually. It's probably what they did. So I just felt a little bit short. I'm not saying it's not a good film. It's an incredibly good film. And, you know, it's tense, it's exciting, it's creepy as well. And, you know, there's real jeopardy involved. But, you know, we're saying that it was a sequel that nobody was expecting. I just still wonder whether it's genuinely a real sequel or not.
Well, indeed, the film directors, producers, J.J. Abrams, never confirmed nor denied that it was a sequel, keeping obviously the word of mouth marketing going. Is it or is it not? And eventually during the interview, I think he used the term, well, 10 Cloverfield Lane is like a blood relative to Cloverfield. So not the sequel, but part of the same universe, and obviously setting up a franchise. I mean, for me, I went to the movies and I was so taken by the experience of three people trapped in an underground bunker. John Goodman, who was truly frightening. I mean, the man, which really, who I know mostly for comedy, was so sinister as the unhinged kind of preppy, I think they called on their preppers. And obviously, you had the actress Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who plays Michelle, who gets a lot of his attention. And we have the third character, Emmett, who we learned through the story has helped him build the bunker, but had to fight his way inside the bunker. And the whole story is around John Goodman plays Howard saying, you can't go out because it's either a chemical attack from the Russians or something worse from outer space, and you can't go out. Is he telling the truth, or is he a complete psychopath who just wants company whilst he's chosen to lock himself into a bunker for no good reasons?
Yeah, no, and from a psychological point of view, it's quite painful, isn't it, to actually see how it progresses and the sort of levels of tension rise. I mean, the standout moment for me was when Michelle effectively creates a chemical suit and a gas mask, so you know she wants to escape. And there's a sequence where she effectively inadvertently sets fire to the bunker, and you know, you're underground, you're trapped underground, and the only way out is up through an air vent. And that sequence, as she's trying to get out, and you know that it's going to either burn the whole thing inside out or explode. That part from when she sets the fire inadvertently to getting out and and John Goodman trying to stop her as well, it's so tense. You really are on the edge of your seat.
For me, the one standout is the very first time John Goodman loses his temper. So remember the eating at the table, and I think perhaps out of sheer boredom, Michelle and Emmett are a bit playful, a bit cheeky, maybe take the mick out of him a bit, and they go too far, and he loses it. Yeah. And my God, the performance, and also because John Goodman is such a tall, large guy, you know, his stature, he just towers those two and loses it. And I'm thinking, oh my God, and they're stuck with him in this bunker. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I like John Goodman a lot. You know, he was in one of my favourite films of all time, which is called Sea of Love, and which was a cop drama. He's, you know, he can play comedy, he can play sinister. I'm not sure what I thought about the ending again, Pascal, because obviously she does escape from the bunker, and probably the last 5 to 10 minutes of the film, that's when it becomes genuine Cloverfield, because then we have aliens chasing her across the fields, and we have spaceships trying to lift her up and take the car up into the spaceship. So it still just felt to me as if it was a bit tagged on at the end.
Yeah, and I think it's because also we spend, let's say, an hour and 20 minutes inside the bunker, and suddenly we're out. And it's almost like this overwhelming sense of space information and then the alien. I didn't mind it so much, and I think the reason why the ending worked okay, although I do agree with your point, is because at the very end, she's in the car, the radio is playing, and they talk about essentially most of the US being invaded by those creatures, and they're asking for help, and she chooses, because I think she has some knowledge around medical background, she chooses to go to a city that needs her help, and I feel it opens up to potentially more. But in terms of the marketing, just to give us a quick link into that, remember we and I said there was no forewarning. The movie was released in March 2016, but the marketing started in January 2016. This is a 2-month campaign, Roger, and I can't wait to explore with you the elements to say, how do you make a 2-month campaign, which is incredibly short? How do you make it work?
Yeah, I mean, they obviously had the usual standards. There was a quite effective poster, actually. I love the idea of how they created the great big L of the word lane, almost implying down the poster that the fact that they were in this nuclear fallout bunker. I think that was very, very clever. And again, the trailers focused in on, you know, that what you've already said, don't go out there, something's coming. They were very effective, but this particular campaign wasn't traditional at all. Beyond the poster, beyond the trailer, they did something totally different, and it was this viral campaign that you mentioned too before. And of course, the original Cloverfield film had an earlier sort of internet savvy campaign, but this one, they absolutely nailed it.
Absolutely. And you know, the term viral marketing is used a lot in the world of marketing, and often is just this aspiration of creating content that others are going to share on. But actually, in the case of this film, and of course, I suspect with a strong influence from J.J. Abrams, he brought in some element of gamification, which I think must come from his work on Lost, where there was a lot of things you could do beyond watching the movie, to go online and find information about the airline and find information about the different characters, and of course, Cloverfield. So we begin with a discovery by really big fans of the genre that you could order the same kind of fizzy drink as the characters you could see on the trailer. So you've got some eagle-eyed fans who discover a real business where you can order the Swamp Pop soda that was featured in the film, and three things happen depending on who you were. So if you were lucky enough to be some of the first few to orders, not only did you get the soda and you can show off on lines, but you also got some pieces of the jigsaw puzzle that the characters were playing in the movie, leading to the legend that maybe that's why they can't finish the puzzle. Others got the sign saying, "Terribly sorry, due to unfortunate circumstances on the eastern seaboard," suggesting the monsters, we can't order, we can't deliver to you. And then others say, well, there's only one or two left, and the price is $4,813, which so happens to be the number that Howard, played by John Goodman, punches into the jukebox to play the song "I Think We're All On Now."
Yeah, and they also had this whole sort of you had to go out and find more information, didn't you? It's almost like a treasure hunt. You're looking for discovering the letters. Now, the Howard, that's the creepy character. He has a daughter called Megan, who we never actually meet in the show, and the implication is that he did something horrible to his daughter Megan. But you actually go out there and you can find letters that he had written to his daughter, expecting her to come back, and then details of the bunker he was building. And you almost like you could get involved in this character's life. And I imagine that appealed to quite a lot of people who just love putting clues together. And there's quite a lot of games you can get for iPhones and Androids these days, which are almost these clue-based games where you have to piece together, like escape rooms on phones, I guess. And that's like this, isn't it? You're just finding the information to piece together the story before you've even seen the film.
I love the way you use the term treasure hunt, because that's how it feels. And I'm absolutely convinced that it means that like you and I, because J.J. Abrams is of our age group, he will have played RPGs, he will have played Dungeons and Dragons and more to come up with, because that's what you do. You have players around the table and you dish out, type messages, you dish out maps and so on. People went as far as going onto websites and using the mouse cursor, highlighting parts of the website to see whether there was a hidden hyperlink where if the website was in white, maybe the text was in white, and you can discover things like this. But the one that blew my mind in terms of just the prep, but also the discovery, was to find that at the movies, depending which chain you went to, they had 5 different trailers for the movie, each with a final frame being different. So you literally had to go online and freeze frame to the last frame. The last frame would reveal a hand drawing, a kind of some old-fashioned hand drawings, but also some numbers, and some clever so-and-so managed to pull the numbers together, being the coordinates to somewhere in the US where you could go, and someone went. It's on YouTube. They went into the coordinates, they dug the ground, and they found a box left allegedly by the character Howard.
Oh, that's just classic, isn't it? Absolutely. I mean, the fact that they did that and took the chance, I mean, that is quite a complicated load of information you've got to piece together to find those coordinates. The fact that they expected somebody, some incredible geek, to do that, it's the sort of thing you and I would have done, isn't it? To actually go and dig that box up. I mean, fabulous.
And why is it viral? Because then you end up with thousands upon thousands of people around the world, and indeed, also in Europe, where the movie did very well, discussing and getting excited about those clues. And people organize themselves in forums, and they go on fandom, they go on Reddit, they go on Facebook, they go on Twitter, and they talk about the marketing of the movie a lot more than they talk about the movie, because the movie has the trailers, you said, and they did do enough in terms of advertising, which was also a first in 2006 to spend so much money online as opposed to on TV and billboards and so on. But the one thing that has stayed from the 2008 campaign, Roger, was of course the reference to the Tag Ruato company. Now, this is the infamous Japanese deep sea drilling companies that we think may be responsible for the appearance of the monster in the very first one. And you could, at the time, the website's still live, but there's a holding message. You could at the time go on this official website and discover more clues about Howard, the fact that he's worked for the company, which maybe suggests he knew more than he let on in the movie. And within that, you could discover more about him and his daughter and the messages they left on each other, almost like hackers. They were hidden away on websites. And back to this treasure hunt, I think it's absolutely amazing. And the very final clue before the movie was released was interesting because this was played almost real time, Roger, where because the movie being released in March 2016, well, everything stops in March 2016, suggesting that for those who've seen the film, Howard obviously comes to a pretty painful end, and there's no more messages from him. But the last clue took you to a youth hostel in Chicago, where you could ring a number and hear more from Howard.
Yeah, I mean, do you think? I mean, it's such an immersive campaign, but incredibly detailed and obviously appealing to the geek fraternity. And I can't imagine your mainstream cinema goer, a family cinema goer, doing all of this. So it was definitely aimed at, people like us. But do you think that because it was so immersive and because it sucked you so much into the Cloverfield universe, do you think there was a lot of people who were disappointed when, like myself, they just felt actually the Cloverfield bit was tagged onto the end of just a film about a creepy guy in a nuclear bunker?
Possibly. I mean, to your point, they had to be careful not to alienate or simply, as we discussed literally last week about yesterday, where people missed the campaign altogether, very short, 2 months. So they did go ahead with a more pedestrian and straight off the mill trailer for TV and the Super Bowl ads. So literally, if you watch trailer number 3, the third one, it gives everything away. I mean, literally, it suggests you even get to hear the rumble, the monster, and the shadow looming at the end. So I think for me, it's probably the less exciting trailer. I think that the first 2 that they created for the campaign were very good. But you're right, they probably realized, hang on a minute, this is getting a bit too clever maybe, or a bit too elitist. So let's do something which is more mainstream. And that's when the TV and online adverts of a very, very kind of common trailer where there's a proper beginning, middle, and end, and you literally discover even through that trailer that Michelle escapes. You don't know what happens to her, but she escapes and is facing up to one of the monsters. So they probably had to do that very quickly at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're absolutely right. When she makes the decision to drive towards Houston, you almost think, yep, there could have been another film about Michelle after that. And of course, we haven't had it yet, and maybe we never will. So this was an interesting one this week, Pascal, because I don't think we've really come across a campaign like this before, a real detailed, almost painstakingly detailed viral marketing campaign appealing to the geeks out there who really love piecing together these bits of information, but at the same time running a parallel campaign which is more mainstream, posters, trailers, that sort of thing. So I think this is, whilst the film itself might not have lived up to the hype, I think the marketing campaign certainly did.
And it's a great addition to film marketing because what you and I are trying to do, although we don't choose the movies for the campaign, we choose movies because we like them or we think something to say, we do try and make sure that we extract elements of the campaign that can be a source of inspiration for all of you and listeners, and they can take that away into the world of business and entertainment, no matter your profession. And I am so pleased because this being number 48, I would say, I would agree with you, this is the first proper viral campaign that we've discussed.
Let's hope we're going to experience many more of these in the years to come. So Pascal, once again, fantastic to share some time with you here on the screen and here in the audio studio. Two Geeks in a Marketing Podcast, episode 48. Thank you everyone for watching the show. Thank you everyone who listened to the show. As always, let us know what you think about Two Geeks in a Marketing Podcast. Give us some feedback on the YouTube channel. Look for us on Twitter. We're both there. And tell us which films you'd like us to talk about. Tell us which films you want us to talk about from the point of view that they're really good films, but also from the point of view of the marketing campaigns. Until the next episode, please, all of you, go out there and make sure that your marketing is done right. I was Roger Edwards and he was Pascal Fintoni.